do this. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Tickets on a beautiful Friday. Weather's great. Indiana's playing Illinois tomorrow. First real game of the Indiana football season, right? Because Kennesaw State, Indiana State, and Old Dominion, they don't really count. And then Sunday, Colts have an opportunity to move to 3-0 for the first time in a very long time. Thank you for tuning into the show, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X, _ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM. Big show today. We're giving away Holiday World tickets again. Probably going to do that at around 11:20 because that just seems to be the standard giveaway time here on the real Jonathan Smith Show. So very, very excited about that. We've got bets and we got football all weekend. And we have to start with Daniel Jones, as always, right? Like, we're just starting every show with Daniel Jones, who has garnered so much good favor from, like, everybody. You know, you turn on ESPN, and you got Dan Orlovsky just raving about how great Daniel Jones has been, right? And then you turn on, FS1 or whatever, right? And you've got, Colin Cowherd just talking about fit and how New York wasn't the right fit for Daniel Jones and how he's come here to Indianapolis and the Shane Steichen system has unlocked Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, man, this is what the former number 6 overall pick was supposed to look like in New York. And New York Giants fans, they're all, sitting up there in their tiny 150 square foot apartments with their 3 roommates, laying down on their triple-decker bed because they don't have room for more than one triple-decker bed. And they're just like, Daniel Jones. Why couldn't he have been good here? What a terrible New York accent on my part. But you get it. And now they're dealing with Russell Wilson and an 0-2 Giants team that's going to be 0-3 after Sunday Night Football when they play against the Kansas City Chiefs. Everyone loves Daniel Jones because everyone loves a good comeback story, except for New York Giant fans. And I'm glad for Daniel Jones. I am happy to be wrong about Daniel Jones. I hope he continues to be great. But this is yet another very big, very important game for Daniel Jones. Because a bad game against the Tennessee Titans would ruin it. It would absolutely ruin it. No one would take into account the fact that the Tennessee Titans defense actually has some talent. No one would take into account how week 1 the Tennessee Titans went on the road to Denver to play Bo Nix and Sean Payton, and they had those two dudes befuddled for the entire game. Only gave up 20 points, despite the Denver Broncos having pretty solid field position throughout the game. No one would take that into account. No one would take into account the fact that the Titans only gave up 10 points in the first half against the Los Angeles Rams last Sunday. If the Colts lose to the Titans, or if Daniel Jones plays bad against the 0-2 Tennessee Titans, then all the good favor that he has earned, poof, it's gone immediately. Right? Because that's how this works. When you have a history, when you deviate from it, when you turn your football career around, when you turn your work career around, people want to believe that you've changed. But as soon as you give them a reason to believe that you didn't, they're probably going to take it. Like, this is just how the real world works in just about everything. Okay? If a girl broke up with a guy because that said guy didn't make enough time for her, then, they do what young couples do. And they get back together, and they're dating for like a month, and things are great. And then all of a sudden, if the guy cancels a date with his girlfriend to go watch football with his buddies, that wouldn't go over very well, you know? And then you'd have like a long conversation in your car. She'd be like, you never changed. You know, this last month has all just been a lie. And then you'd have to deal with that. And that wouldn't be very fun. I am not speaking from experience in any way, shape, or form there. But it's the same thing with Daniel Jones. Your history matters. Who you've been in the past, who you have established yourself to be over the course of 6 years, like Daniel Jones did in New York when he stole $40 million a year from them for a short little period of time when he was up there. That matters, even if you turn it around for a bit. Okay, and I've been saying this ever since he started playing well, and people have gotten annoyed with me for it. But I'm telling you, if he plays bad on Sunday, people are going to turn on him so fast. They will turn on him faster than Barry Bonds used to turn on the inside heater. Okay, it's going to happen so quick. People are waiting for an excuse to turn on Daniel Jones, and if the Colts lose to the Titans on Sunday, that is 1,000% what's going to happen. We're going to hear more of these absurd takes about how the Colts 2-0 start is as fraudulent as the Saints 2-0 start was last year. Saints won 5 games last year after starting 2-0. Daniel Jones has to continue to play well and not give people a reason to turn on him. Okay? And he can't give it to them this Sunday because you're playing against a bad Tennessee Titans football team that probably won't have L'Jarius Sneed, a guy who has, consistently been one of the best corners in the NFL whenever he's been healthy. Now, who you play bad against, 1,000% matters. Like last week, if Daniel Jones had a rough go of it, then there would have been some grace there. You're like, they're playing the Broncos, Funga, Nick Bonito led the NFL in sacks last year. Vance Joseph's a really good defensive coordinator. Like people could have reasoned with why he struggled. People will not reason if he struggles with the Tennessee Titans. It's just going to be right back to, because he's terrible. I won't do that because I do understand that this Titans defense has had a pretty fair amount of success last year. They had a pretty fair amount of success last year. The issue is Will Levis was their quarterback. Okay? And when you're on the field for 40 minutes a game and your quarterback's turning the football over in bad spots, then you're going to give up points. Now, next week, when the Colts go on the road to L.A., Daniel Jones can afford to have a down performance. Because the Los Angeles Rams defense is legit in every sense of the word. Okay? The Rams have Super Bowl aspirations. Colts, they're playing really well. They're 2-0. The Colts do not have Super Bowl aspirations this year. Okay? As good as Daniel Jones is playing, I think everyone would agree that they are just a step or two below the Ravens and the Chargers and the Bills and the Eagles and even the Chiefs who are 0-2. And if you go out west, they're not as good as the Rams either. So who you struggle against, because we are going to have a game where Daniel Jones struggles. Okay, he's going to throw a few interceptions this year because everyone throws a few interceptions every year except for Aaron Rodgers. Like that dude just doesn't turn the football over. Very impressive. Part of why he's won as many games as he has. But Daniel Jones is going to have a week where he fumbles the football because he gets hit from his blind side and then someone's going to jump on it, and that may cost the game, cost the Colts the game. He's going to have a game where he throws an interception or two. Like that game is coming, right? Like I still can't believe how just impeccable his decision-making has been through these first 2 games. One bad throw. He's made one wrong decision throwing the football. Michael Pittman Jr. ran like a 5-yard curl week 1 against Miami. Daniel Jones was late. Miami Dolphin linebacker jumped the route. He dropped the pick. But aside from that, Daniel Jones has made the right choice at every turn in terms of where to go with the football. And it's just like that's not sustainable. Okay, Daniel Jones is not going to continue to be perfect with this decision making every week, and that's okay. You just have to make sure that the one bad game that you have doesn't come against the Titans on Sunday and lead this Colts team to be 2-1 instead of 3-0, which they 1,000% should be. They are so much better roster-wise than the Tennessee Titans. People have raised questions about Shane Steichen. I will continue to argue that he's a good coach because the ability to go 500 with a defense that was never ranked higher than 28th in the NFL, with Joe Flacco, Anthony Richardson, and Gardner Minshew as your quarterbacks, the ability to go 500 with that quarterback situation and that bad of a defense and Gus Bradley as your defensive coordinator, then like you have some good coaching ability in you. Okay, like you do, right? He's had some really bad moments. You know, the double pass against Denver, the end of game clock management last week, throwing the football to Tyler Goodson instead of Jonathan Taylor 2 years ago on the biggest play of your season. Okay, like he's had some bad moments. But he's a better coach than Brian Callahan. I say that as like that is just like that is a fact. Okay, let's start with one thing. Shane Steichen knows the rules. I think that's a really important part of being a head coach. Okay, he understands and knows the rules. That is incredibly important, right? So I will gladly take the head coach that knows the rules over the guy that doesn't. Outside of Jeffrey Simmons, this Tennessee Titans, front isn't very good, and the Colts offensive line, they've been playing like one of the 5 best offensive lines in the NFL to start the season. It has been incredibly impressive what those guys have done up front in the trenches to open the season, right? They're running the football. Jonathan Taylor's getting loose. The pass protection has been out of this world. Once again, Tanner Bortolini, Matt Gonsalves have been so good. They have greatly exceeded the expectations that I had for them. So, like, this should be a game where the Colts offensive line controls the line of scrimmage when the Colts are on offense. In football, it's really rather simple. Bet on the teams that are going to be able to control the line of scrimmage and aren't going to turn the football over. The Colts, through 2 weeks, they have done that. Okay, like this offensive line, just completely stonewalled a very good Denver pass rush last week. Oh, and Jonathan Taylor also ran the football for 165 yards. They dominated that game last week. Week 1 against Miami, same thing. That Miami front is good. I don't know if you watched the game last night, but between Bradley Chubb and Zach Sealer and Jalen Phillips coming off of the other edge, it's a really good front. You wouldn't have known that if you watched the Colts dominate the Dolphins 33-8 in week 1. They did whatever they wanted. They pushed dudes around for, 6 hours so far throughout this season. It has been so impressive what the offensive line has done. And of the 3 teams that they've played, this is the worst front that they have played against so far. And I expect for Sunday to be another 3 hours of Quentin Nelson and Bernard Ryman and Braden Smith and Tanner Bortolini and Matt Gonsalves. I expect for it to be another 3 hours of them pushing dudes around. I'm sure that Jeffrey Simmons, he'll make a play or two because he's just a naturally good football player. But aside from that, this should be a game where they get behind those big dudes up front and they run the football and they give Daniel Jones all the time in the world to read the defense and make a good throw. Okay? This should be an easy day for the offense. Okay? This should be another week where Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor and these receivers make offense look easy like they've done through these first 2 weeks. I would enjoy it a little bit more if they made red zone offense look easy. But, I'm not a greedy person. Let's just not punt again. I feel like if the Colts don't punt again this week, then they're going to have a pretty good chance to win. Defensively, this should be a confidence-building game. That's what it should be. You're playing a young quarterback who's completing 50% of his passes to start the season. Right? Young dude. Lou Anarumo is going to show him a million different looks that he's never seen before. The wide receivers for the Tennessee Titans aren't super explosive. They're not very good. It's the reality of it. This offensive line has been abysmal to start the season. Even though there is talent on the offensive line, they have just not executed on the talent that they have. This should be a week for this defense to not, pad their stats. Because I'm making it sound like this is like Indiana playing Kennesaw State. Like that's not accurate at all. But this should be a game where the Colts have opportunities to, force more turnovers, right? Because that's a large part of why the Colts have won these games. Their turnover margin is 4-0. They lead the NFL in turnover margin through the first 2 weeks of the season. This should be another week where they win the turnover battle. And if they win the turnover battle, the Tennessee Titans very simply do not have enough talent to overcome that. Like there are certain teams, the Ravens, the Bills, the Eagles, the Rams even, whereas if they, turn the football over once and they lose the turnover battle 1-0, they have enough talent to overcome that. Tennessee Titans absolutely do not. So give me the Colts. I like them to cover the 4.5 points. Biggest thing though, Daniel Jones, keep playing well. Okay, keep stacking days, as people around here like to say. Okay, continue to prove that you're not just like a month-long guy, prove that you can be the guy. Go earn that big contract that the Colts are just dying to give out to any quarterback. Continue to run the offense well, and the Colts will be just fine. This is a game where if the Colts lose, it's going to be because they gave the game away. Like the Titans are not just going to whip the Colts for 3 hours. They just don't have the players to do that. The only way the Colts lose is if they give the game away. And there's really only three ways to do that. I'll tell you what those 3 ways are in 4 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X _ Jonathan Smith, follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. Now, Colts, they're playing on Sunday, and I do this every Friday. I basically give out like keys to victory, you know, and like every show does something like this. And I'm convinced that they're called keys to victory or whatever, because they're like keys to your house. Like the key to your house never changes. Like I've lived at the same place for almost 2 years now, and key hasn't changed. It's the one I put in the door yesterday. It's going to be the same one that I put in the door today and tomorrow and so on. And I feel like keys for the Colts, they're like house keys. It's the same thing every week. Run the football well. If Jonathan Taylor runs for 150 yards again, Colts are probably going to win. Okay? Like that's not just true for the Colts. That's true for everybody. But Jonathan Taylor has to continue to be super involved. 28 touches last week between his carries and his receptions. That needs to continue. Like when that guy has the football in his hands, there is immediately excitement because you know what he is capable of doing when he has the football. You know, the ability to catch a swing pass out of the backfield and then take off for 48 yards like he did last week. You know, week 1 against Miami, catches the football out of the backfield. It's like 2nd and 9. He catches the football. He makes the guy miss. The next thing you know, he's picked up, 17 yards. He has to continue to get opportunities to make plays both in the run game and in the pass game. And I love it when Jonathan Taylor catches the football, because when he catches the football, he is immediately in space. It's like when you run it, you got to navigate the offensive lineman and you got to navigate the defensive lineman and you got to read blocks and all that stuff, which is important. And Jonathan Taylor's obviously great at those things. But sometimes it's nice to just catch the football, have one guy to beat him, and then pick up 9 yards. That's really nice. It is. And Jonathan Taylor, he's the guy who makes everything easier. Okay? If the Colts can't run the football, then we are going to see a different version of Daniel Jones. Not necessarily a bad version of Daniel Jones, just one that struggles a little bit, just one that doesn't make offense look easy like he has these first couple of weeks, because running the football makes everything easier. Okay, and I like it when the Colts offense makes things look easy like they have for the last 2 weeks. Okay, next thing, they have to win the turnover battle, right? It's why they blew out the Dolphins. They forced 3 turnovers in the first half. They score points off of all 3 turnovers. The Dolphins look up. They're getting crushed. They completely abandon the run. And now you're playing right into the strength of this Colts defense, which is the secondary. Why did they beat the Broncos? Because of the fact that Bo Nix threw an interception. Okay? They're cruising. They're at a minimum. The Broncos going to get a field goal on that possession. The way that they were moving the football, it felt like they were going to score a touchdown. Lou Anarumo shows pressure, pulls out. Bo Nix rushes the throw. Cam Bynum, who apparently works as hard as anyone in any profession ever, he makes a really nice play, little diving, falling to the ground, interception. He takes it, and next thing you know, the Broncos are committing a leverage penalty, and the Colts win the football game. Okay, the turnover battle is directly why the Colts have won games these first 2 weeks. Okay, they're better than the Titans. Anyone with half a brain would tell you that. The only way, or maybe not the only way, the easiest way for them to lose this game is to turn the football over. Okay? That is the reality of it. Because I don't expect for Cam Ward to have some big 300-yard passing day where everyone comes out of this game and they're like, man, Cam Ward, maybe he's figured it out 3 games into the season. I don't expect that to happen. Not against this secondary that's very likely going to get Travarius Ward back. Not against, this defensive coordinator in Lou Anarumo who's going to mix it up and change the picture from pre-snap to post-snap and do a good job of confusing the young rookie quarterback. Okay, so run the football well. Give Jonathan Taylor many opportunities to make plays. Don't turn the football over. Because look, if we come out of this game and it's a clean game and each team is committed 0 turnovers, give me the Colts by a touchdown. The defense has to stop the run. In terms of the defense, that is the most important thing. Make Cam Ward throw the football 40 times. See if he can complete 60% of his passes, because he is yet to do that through two games. And guess what? If he only completes 60% of his passes, I still like for the Colts to win that game. The Titan receivers aren't very good. And this is a good Colts secondary. Stop the run. Depend on the back end of your defense to make plays. Make Cam Ward beat you. If Tony Pollard has success on the ground, that makes everything else easier for Cam Ward. Okay? It'll have the same impact that it's had on Daniel Jones here in Indy. A good run game is a quarterback's best friend. Okay? It's part of why Daniel Jones has been so good, and it's something that could greatly help Cam Ward, because the Titans have not ran the football well in these first 2 games. Turnovers, bad run defense, and big plays. That's how the Colts could lose this game. Don't turn the ball over. Make Cam Ward beat you and force him to be consistent. I want to go back to the Colts last year when Anthony Richardson was playing quarterback. How did the Colts go about scoring points when Anthony Richardson was under center? Big plays. The Colts last year, with an inconsistent Anthony Richardson, were not going to put together 13-play drives that resulted in touchdowns. It just wasn't going to happen because Anthony Richardson wasn't a consistent enough passer to be able to do that. Cam Ward is yet to show that he can be a consistent passer in the NFL. Look, it's only been 2 games against 2 really good defenses, but he hasn't shown it yet. Don't allow for some 40-yard chunk play, some screen to Calvin Ridley that rips off for 40 yards to allow the Titans to build any sort of momentum. Make them dink and duck their way down the field, because Cam Ward has yet to prove that he can do that. Okay? And it's going to be really tough for him to do that this week because of the injuries on both sides for each of these teams. Okay, so for the Colts, their injuries, Joe Bacci didn't practice yesterday. That's not a big deal because all of the Colts linebackers are bad. All of them are no good. Josh Downs was a full participant yesterday after not practicing Wednesday, so it seems like he's going to be fine to play. Tyler Warren, he returned to practice as well, but he was a limited participant, so hopefully he's going to be able to play. Travarius Ward and Leatu Latu both seem like they're going to play Sunday. Ward has been a full participant all week as he works his way out of the concussion protocol. Leatu Latu, he was a full participant yesterday. Okay, so it seems like his hamstring is going to be back. With that being said, hamstrings are weird. Like they are, okay? Like when hamstrings are weird, then that, we'll kind of see what ends up happening there with him. But it seems like Leatu Latu is going to be back. That's obviously big for both the Colts secondary, Ward coming back, and for their pass rush with Leatu Latu, right? Because they need a dude, man. They need a dude on that defensive line, and Leatu Latu is hopefully going to be that guy. It looks like the Colts are going to be the healthier team on Sunday, and, the healthiest team wins, not the better team. Okay? The Colts are both this week. Titans starting right tackle, J.C. Latham hasn't practiced all week. He's got a hip issue. And then you've got, L'Jarius Sneed, one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL. He hasn't practiced all week either. He's got a back. Bryce Oliver, wide receiver, he hasn't practiced either. So the Colts are the better team, and they're the healthier team. 4.5 points should be covered. I know it's on the road, and road games are different than home games and all of those things. But give me the Colts to go down to Nashville and cover those 4.5 points. Okay. Indiana, they're going to play Illinois on Saturday. Very excited to talk about that game. Zack Gray, he's joining the show at 10:40, and 11:40, and we're going to not only do bets, but we're going to talk a lot about Illinois and IU, and can't wait for the game. Can't wait for that game because I'm just excited to figure out if Indiana's going to be any good or not. Okay, look, they've done exactly what they should do to the inferior opponents that they opened the season with, right? That first half against Old Dominion was a little weird, but after that, I mean, they just, they clearly controlled that game. And then they curb stop Indiana State, and then they curb stop Kennesaw State, and, and they're like, that's a good thing. That's a good sign. But not the same as playing an Illinois team that has legitimate college football playoff aspirations. So I can't wait to watch this game. Ross Campbell asking over on the YouTube chat, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to watch the show there, be part of the conversation. The YouTube chat is usually where I go for that kind of stuff. You can tweet at me as well, I guess, if you want. Ross Campbell asking me if I'm going to the game. I am not. One of my really good buddies, he's got a bachelor party, and so I am I'm going to leave early. That way I can catch the game and, go back and rewatch all the games that'll happen while we're hanging out. But I will sadly not be there. First big home game in the Coach Cignetti era. Obviously, last year they go on the road to Notre Dame. They go on the road to Ohio State. Really the only two big games that they played in last year. And I've harped on this all week. They need to win this game. Coach Cignetti needs to win this football game because if he does not, then, they're not in trouble, but he is. The narrative will very quickly be Indiana can't beat good teams because people don't like Indiana. Okay, college football, it is an elitist club, and they don't like it when new people show up and try to join. That is just the very simple reality of college football. So for Coach Cignetti's reputation, which I know he doesn't really care about, it's going, he needs to win this game. Okay? Like he needs to win a big game at Indiana. That way he's not labeled as the guy who can't beat good teams. Okay? So we'll see how it goes. Can't wait for the game on Saturday. I've got many more thoughts on it that I will get to, but when we come back in about 4 minutes, I've got bets. My NFL bets have been really good to start the year. My college football bets have not been. So fade me on all of the college football stuff, and I'd ride with me in terms of all of the NFL bets. So I'm going to give you my bets when we come back in 4 minutes.
news in today's sports world. It's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on X, _ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. You can use that app to listen to the Dan Dockett Show as well from noon to 3. NFL bets. I've had a really good year. Okay? A really good year to kind of open the season. Feel really good about all of my futures as well. First big bet of the Sunday slate. Cardinals, 49ers. Give me the Cardinals plus 2.5. A lot of underdogs this week. Okay, 49ers, banged up. Brandon Ayuk, still not back. George Kittle, he's on IR. Juwan Jennings hasn't practiced all week. Brock Purdy is a question mark with turf toe. Okay, it's the 49ers. Injuries are just a part of who they are. It's week 3, and they're already limping into this game. The Cardinals, very healthy. I'm going to take the healthier team. That is legitimately good. If you go through the Arizona Cardinals and their roster, there's just so many good players. You know, you start going through it and you're like, oh, that's a good player. Oh, I got Trey McBride. Like that guy's a really good player. You know, Kyler Murray, really, really good quarterback when he's healthy and he's not playing the night after Call of Duty comes out. You know, you just work through like James Conner, really good player. Marvin Harrison Jr., good player. Zay Jones, good player. Left tackle Paris Johnson Jr., really good left tackle. And then you look at the defense and you're like, Josh Sweat should have won Super Bowl MVP last year at edge rusher. Zaven Collins, solid linebacker. Will Johnson at corner's gotten off to a good start. Budda Baker's arguably the best safety in football. And you can just keep working through it. All of the good players that the Cardinals have, give me them plus 2.5 on the road against the 49ers. Next game, Raiders versus Commanders. Give me the Raiders plus 3.5. Jayden Daniels hasn't practiced at all this week. He's got a knee injury. And even if he does play, with how much he moves around, if he's dealing with the knee, I don't expect him to be fully himself. He'll be at least a little bit hindered. I think the Raiders bounce back. Well-coached teams that get embarrassed tend to bounce back the following week. Pete Carroll, still a good head coach. I like Geno Smith. Really a rough game against the Chargers on Monday Night Football. But I expect him to bounce back and play better than what he did last Sunday. Give me the Raiders plus 3.5 on the road against the Washington Commanders. Next game, another road underdog that we're taking on the money line. Not the money line. Excuse me. We are taking the points, not the money line on this one. Give me the Rams plus 3.5. The Eagles haven't played great to start the season. The defense is young. Pass rush hasn't been the same as what it was last year. The offense hasn't been very explosive. A.J. Brown hasn't been involved. Jalen Hurts has only thrown for 250 yards through 2 games. It's just like the Eagles, look, they're winning football games, and that is really all that matters. But it just hasn't been very impressive. Give me the Rams, who are a very complete team. I'll take them to cover, and for Matthew Stafford to have a really big game against a young Eagles defense. AFC South Division, Texans and Jaguars. Give me the Jags minus 1.5. Texans fall to 0-3. Who would have thought we'd be saying that? The Texans' offensive line is bad. New doesn't always mean better. It's 5 new guys, and they are worse than they were last year. And that new Texans offensive line is going to get ran through by Josh Hines-Allen, Eric Armstead, and former number 1 overall pick, Travon Walker, who was a 10.5 sack guy last year. Josh Hines-Allen, a 17 sack guy 2 years ago. Eric Armstead was, he's a little older now, had a really good career when he was in San Francisco. CJ Stroud will have no time to throw. Nico Collins is the only legitimately good wide receiver that they have. Trevor Lawrence, if he can just not turn the football over and he doesn't throw any hospital balls like he did last week, and then get Brian Thomas Jr. to not be weird like he was last week, then I really like the Jags. They're at home. Winning on the road in Miami in September or in Florida, not easy. It'll be hot. It'll be muggy. 1:00 start. Give me the Jags at home to cover the 1.5 points. Final game, because we do 5 NFL bets every Friday. Chiefs-Giants. Chiefs minus 5.5. They're winning that game by a touchdown. Simple as that. That game, I just if the Chiefs don't win that game by at least a touchdown, I will be flabbergasted. I'll be shocked. They are so much better than the Giants. It's Russell Wilson. Okay, Spags is going to have a field day. All right. And really this bet is I expect for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to bounce back. They're 0-2. They're not falling to 0-3. They're just not. The defense is good. Xavier Worthy is supposed to be back. Give me the Chiefs by a lot. If they won this game 31-10, I wouldn't be surprised. It would not surprise me in the slightest if we got a score like that. College football games. Really good slate this week. Indiana, Illinois. Give me Illinois +6. I'm not going to bet this game. This is a very firm stay away from me. I'll talk to Zack Gray about it here in about an hour. He's much better at betting college football than I am. But this is a pretty firm stay away from me. I just don't know enough about Indiana to make the bet. And I don't like the idea of betting money on a team that I'm not sure of yet, because we've seen Indiana play Kennesaw State and Indiana State and Old Dominion. So I don't bet on teams that I don't really know enough about. So give me the Fighting Illini +6. I just know more about them. Saw them go on the road to Duke and blow them out, which is way more telling than anything that Indiana has done. I could be wrong here. I just don't like betting on teams that I'm not sure about, and I'm just not sure about Indiana quite yet. The numbers look good. They did what good teams do to bad teams, but I just want to see them on the field against an opponent that actually can match their talent a little bit. And Illinois can definitely do that. Texas Tech versus Utah. Give me Utah -3.5. Utah's good. The post-Cam Rising era is underway. And Devin Dampier, if you haven't watched Utah play, watch them at noon on Saturday. Devin Dampier's electric. 7 touchdowns, no picks. He's completing 71% of his passes. Oh, and he's also Utah's leading rusher. Dude's just electric. You know that Kyle Whittingham is an excellent coach. One of the better coaches in college football that no one really talks about. Utah's defense, it's always good. All right, so give me Utah. This is a Kyle Whittingham bet. Texas Tech, they've brought in a lot of talent. Number 2 ranked transfer portal class in the country. They've blown out everyone, but they haven't played anyone great either. So I'm just going to bet on the history of Utah and their head coach and Kyle Whittingham. Give me Utah -3.5. Auburn, Oklahoma. Give me Oklahoma -6.5. Auburn, much improved. I like the receivers. New quarterback, played at Oklahoma last year. Now he's at Auburn. Really good player. But Oklahoma's at home, and John Mateer is an absolute stud. Okay, Oklahoma defense looks awesome, and it should, because it's Brett Venables, one of the better defensive-minded head coaches in the world of college football. I think they have the better quarterback. I like their weapons. That being said, Auburn's weapons are good too. Their quarterback, very good as well. I just like the Oklahoma defense a little bit more. They're at home. Give me Oklahoma to cover the 6.5 points. Last big college football game of the week, Michigan. They're playing Nebraska. Give me Nebraska +2.5. I believe in Coach Rule. There's a million numbers out there that you can go find that support the idea that Matt ruled teams in year 3 in college football, not in the NFL. In college football, that they kind of get rolling in year 3. Sharon Moore, Michigan head coach, he's not coaching. He's serving, one of his games for the 2-game suspension for all the cheating that they did. That matters. And I think Nebraska's receiving core is underrated. Dylan Raiola, he gets made fun of because he looks like Patrick Mahomes and he acts like Mahomes and all that kind of stuff. But he's a talented player. He's a good player. And I love taking home dogs in the world of college football. So give me Nebraska at home, plus 2.5. May even sprinkle a little bit on the money line. So Nebraska plus 2.5. I really, really like that bet against a young Bryce Underwood playing on the road in a pretty hostile environment against a Nebraska team that I do think is pretty good. Last bet thing here. Every week we do the Kirk Cousins bet of the week. Let's try that again. Every week we do the Kirk Cousins bet of the week, where we take a road underdog on the money line in the NFL. I like my bet this week.
Walk into your trap, take over your trap was the line he would say. You go into someone else's stadium and you try to assert yourself.
Walk in your trap, take over your trap. That is the idea behind this bet. We're taking an underdog on the road, on the money line. I will refer you back to the first NFL bet that I told you that I am making this weekend. Give me the Arizona Cardinals on the money line over the 49ers. They're going to go on the road into San Francisco, play against a very beat-up San Francisco team, and beat them. And they are in a very similar situation to what the Colts are. 2-2-0 teams that people don't really believe in. Like everyone, comparing the Colts 2-0 start. Not everyone. Some people, the haters out there comparing the Colts 2-0 start to the Saints starting 2-0 last year. I think that's absurd. You can do the same thing with the Cardinals because their 2 wins came over the Saints and the Panthers, 2 of, the 5 worst teams in the NFL this year. I think that the Cardinals go on the road to a good but beat up 49ers team and they win straight up. Give me them on the money line. It's very simple. I'm taking the healthier team because I'm a huge believer in the idea that healthier teams win in the NFL, not necessarily the better teams, right? Because if both teams are fully healthy, then I do think that I would take the 49ers, but they're not. Zack Gray is going to join the show at 11:40, and I'm sure we'll talk quite a bit about that game. Can't wait to have him on. Great dude, professional sports gambler, off to a pretty good start this season. We'll continue to do our sharp versus square. He's beaten me in college football, but we are currently tied in the NFL. So good bets, winning bets here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. And I can't wait for tomorrow just because I love college football. As I said, the slate is outstanding. Indiana playing against Illinois, 7:30 night game. Bloomington's going to be rocking because I do understand that Indiana is a basketball school. But I think if every school could choose, everyone would choose to be a football school because that is the biggest sport in our country. Coach Signetti currently trying to help Indiana make that transition at least a little bit. Obviously, basketball will always be very important for Indiana, but football, it's creeping up there. There was a lot of excitement last year. There's, I think, even more excitement this year, and Indiana has an opportunity to show why because this roster, it's supposed to be really good. Okay, like the trenches are supposed to be improved. I thought that was a large part of their issue last year. That the trenches just weren't quite good enough. So we're going to talk about them when we come back, the things that I like, but can't really commit to because I haven't seen them do it against a good opponent quite yet. The show sponsored by Holiday World and Splash and Safari. We are going to give out tickets to Holiday World. They're doing these awesome Halloween weekends right now that you 1,000% want to go to and take your kids to. So we're going to give away tickets to a Holiday World holiday weekend coming up here in about 25 minutes. When we come back at the top of the hour, 11 o'clock, more on Indiana's first big game of the year against Illinois.
do this. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Hour number 2 getting underway here on the real Jonathan Smith Show. Coming up here in 40 minutes, professional sports gambler Zack Gray joins the show. He's going to give out even more winners because that's just what he does, right? Or that's what he's done at least to start this football season. Thank you for tuning into the show, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X _ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And you can also use that app to listen to the Dan Dockett Show every day from noon to 3. You know, I'm sure he'll have his thoughts on the Colts, Titans, IU, and Illinois, which starts tomorrow night, 7:30, Indiana. One of the biggest games of the Coach Cignetti era. I would argue the second biggest game behind, obviously, the playoff game. That's obviously always going to, playoff games are always going to be in front of regular season games, right? Last year, they go into Ohio State and they get crushed, and that's not an indictment on them. Ohio State was the best team in the country last year. And then they go into Notre Dame, and the same thing happens. They get crushed, and that's not an indictment on Indiana. Notre Dame was one of the best teams in college football last year. Not this year after the 0-2 start, but last year, Notre Dame, really good at football. And it's a big game for Coach Cignetti because people don't like him. And when people don't like you, they very quickly label you something negative if they can. And if they lose, especially if they get blown out by Illinois, which I do not think will happen, then people will just very quickly label Indiana as the team that can't beat anybody good. So far through Coach Cignetti's time at Indiana, his best wins over 6-6 Michigan last year or 6-6 Nebraska from last year. So I am very excited for this game, kind of from that standpoint. These are two teams, fighting really hard to make the playoff. That is another reason why this game is huge. I like Indiana this year. I think they're a good football team. Do I think they're good enough to go on the road to Oregon and win? No. Do I think Indiana is good enough to go on the road to Penn State and win? No. I think Indiana is going to live in a pretty similar tier as to what they lived in last year. There's national championship contenders, and then there's a level below that. And that is where I expect for Indiana to reside once again this season. To be fair, I think that's where Illinois is sitting at as well. So I expect for both of these teams, Illinois and Indiana, to both be very well coached. I expect both teams to be up for this game in a very big way because each team knows what is at stake. And whoever plays better at quarterback is going to win. I have a lot of questions about Indiana football because we haven't seen them play anybody good. But this is the nice thing about the transfer portal. I have no questions about Fernando Mendoza because you can go back and you can watch him play at Cal last year. And you can just sit there and be like, wow, this kid's awesome. Can make every throw, sits in the pocket, athletic enough to get outside the pocket and make plays. And I expect for him to be really good in this game. I expect for Elijah Surratt to have a big day as well. I expect for that connection to be pretty on point whenever Indiana has to throw the football. And I think coming into this season, that was a large part of the expectation for Indiana football. Like, hey, you know what they're going to do? They're going to throw the football all over the yard. It's going to be the Fernando Mendoza show as he's working on getting drafted. And, this is a guy who could potentially be a first-round pick, and he's going to Indiana so that he can throw the football and he can, work on that draft stock. And that has not been the case. Or at least that hasn't been the most impressive part of Indiana football to start the season, right? Like they've obviously had success throwing the ball, but the way that they've ran the football is very encouraging. It is the most impressive part of their season so far. They're averaging a tick under 7 yards per carry. They're averaging over 300 yards per game on the ground. Okay, like they're not going to run the ball that well against Illinois, obviously, but it's a good sign that they've got some dudes in the trenches. When you play the Kennesaw States and Indiana States of the world, you better be able to run the football in a dominant fashion. Because if you can't run the football against those guys, you're definitely not going to run the football against anyone in the Big Ten. So it looks like the Indiana trench play is going to be really good this season. We'll see how dominant it is. Okay, the Indiana defense, very similar to Indiana's ability to run the football. It has looked dominant, which is how it should look against bad teams, against the Indiana States and Kennesaw States and Old Dominions of the world. Okay, the issue is I just don't know how real it is. Because it hasn't, once again, Kennesaw State, Indiana State, Old Dominion. Hard for me to pull big opinions from that. Okay, so I don't know how real it is, but it's obviously better that they've looked dominant against bad teams than, squeaking out overtime victories, right? So we'll see. Illinois, they've looked every bit as good against the inferior opponents that they've played as Indiana has. The big thing in this game, or the big S thing in this game for Indiana, is they have to avoid turning the football over because Illinois is absolutely not going to turn the football over. Like that's just they just don't do that. Okay? Like that is the one thing that I absolutely know for a fact about Illinois. They are not turning the football over tomorrow night. Okay, Luke Altmaier, senior quarterback for Illinois, guy who's been there for 4 years. Okay, or that's not true. He transferred in from Ole Miss, but a guy who's committed to playing quarterback for Illinois, apparently turned down a lot of money to go other places to stay there. His touchdown to interception ratio over the last 2 years is 4-1. Luke Altmaier does not turn the football over. And if Indiana does, they'll lose the turnover battle. Like if Illinois turns the ball over, if Indiana turns the ball over once, like the turnover battle is lost. Because Illinois, like they just don't do that. Here's the other thing. Teams coached by Brett Bielema run the football. Illinois is going to run the ball well, and Luke Altmaier is going to make plays. Both of these teams are very good. Possessions are incredibly valuable. Neither team can afford to give one away. Whoever wins the turnover battle tomorrow night is going to win the football game. Okay? Because I don't think either team has an innate advantage one way or the other. So Illinois covers the 6 points, but I do think that Indiana wins a very close, very intense, very fun to watch football game. Can't wait to watch it. So that is tomorrow night. Football in the state of Indiana is just awesome right now. It just is. Colts are rolling. The premier college football team in the state right now is Indiana. Notre Dame fans probably threw up whenever I said that. But hey, Notre Dame fans, you're 0-2. I can't call you the premier program in the state when you're 0-2. Come on now. The Colts, though, they're rolling 2-0 on the season, and it is another big week for Daniel Jones, who's just, garnering favor with everybody. Everyone, Daniel Jones getting it figured out in Indianapolis. He's this year's, Sam Darnold, resurrecting the career, comes here, beats out, former number 4 overall pick Anthony Richardson, and the Colts are 2-0, and they haven't punted, and all of that kind of stuff. It's like people are excited about Daniel Jones. Okay? Simple as that. People are excited about Daniel Jones, and they should be. The dude has been so good to start the year. Okay, second in the league in passing yards. He's got 5 total touchdowns, 2 passing and 3 rushing via the quarterback sneak. He's playing so well. A bad game against the Titans, though, would absolutely ruin it. It would. You know, everyone would freak out. Like, oh, no, Daniel Jones hasn't figured it out. You know, like, it wouldn't matter that the Tennessee Titans defense actually has some talent. Wouldn't matter that we saw this Titans defense completely befuddle Bo Nix and Sean Payton for 4 quarters in week 1 and hold them to only 20 points. That wouldn't matter at all. It wouldn't matter that same Titans defense, held Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, a really good offensive line. Oh, and let's not forget Sean McVay to 10 points and a half on Sunday. Okay? If the Colts lose to the Titans, then all the good favor that Daniel Jones has earned just disappears. Poof, it's gone. Immediately. And this is how it works when you have a history that he has. Okay? Daniel Jones, I'm so glad that he's been able to come here and get back on track. But he's not firmly on the tracks yet. Okay? Like, you have to be good for more than 2 games for me and for a lot of people to be like, you know what? This guy's good. Okay? That's just the very simple reality of it. So, very excited for Daniel Jones this week, but he's got to keep it going. Okay? It is so important for him and obviously for the Colts, because the reason why they're 2-0 is because he has played as well as he has. The decision-making has been dang near flawless. All right, one bad decision all year in terms of where he's decided to throw the football. He's been incredibly accurate, throwing the football through tin cans like he did last week against Denver. Okay, like this dude, it seems like he's figured it out. I need to see more. Okay, because someone's history matters. Okay, like if a girl broke up with a guy because he didn't make enough time for her. He was skipping out on dates to go do other things with his boys. If she broke up with him for that, and then they decided to get back together, and the guy canceled a date to go watch football with his buddies, like that wouldn't go over very well. And then you'd have a long conversation in the car about how you don't change and how you've never changed. And this whole, time together was a lie. And like, that wouldn't be fun for anybody. It's the same thing with Daniel Jones. Your history matters. And when you've given us 6 years of not good quarterback play, then people are going to be kind of waiting to see you go back to who you were. I hope Daniel Jones doesn't. But I do think people are waiting on an excuse to turn on Daniel Jones. And he cannot give them that this Sunday. He cannot play bad against the 0-2 Tennessee Titans, trending towards the number 1 overall pick. Again, if you've seen them play, they're just not very good. Now, if he plays bad against a good team, like last week, if he'd come out against Denver and struggled, if he comes out against Denver and he struggles, then it's like, hey, best defense in the NFL, maybe one of the best defenses in the NFL, led the NFL in sacks last year. They've got good players. It kind of makes sense for Daniel Jones to struggle against the Denver Broncos. He obviously didn't, but if he had, it would have been able to be explained away pretty easily. Next week, if he comes out and he struggles against the Rams, same thing. Very explainable, right? The Rams have Super Bowl aspirations, Byron Young, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse, really good pass rush. Witherspoon on the back end, really good corner. He's not going to play Sunday, but still, like they've got a lot of good players. That Rams defense is good, and you could just explain it away. Not the case with the Titans. Everyone expects for the Colts offense to continue to look awesome this Sunday because the Titans aren't good at football. Like it's just not a good team. If Daniel Jones waltzes out there and he throws 2 picks, then you will see people turn on him so quickly, even if they win. If he plays bad, you'll see people start to commit to this idea that those first 2 weeks were, just a facade. And I don't think that they were, because they came against, a Dolphins defense that looked pretty decent last night against Josh Allen. and a Broncos defense that I do think is going to turn it around and be awesome. So win this week and don't worry about it anymore. Today's show brought to you by Holiday World and Splashin' Safari. We love Holiday World over here. My wife freaking loves going there, right? Whenever we go, we always have a great time. And right now is a great time to go because they're doing these awesome Holiday World Happy Halloween weekends, right? They've got these really cool drone shows going on right now. And like my wife and I, we have tickets. We're going to find, like a slow college football weekend between now and when these Holiday World weekends are over, or excuse me, Holiday World Halloween weekends are over, and we're going to go down and we're going to have a great time. So we are giving away tickets to Holiday World. You can call in right now, 317-228-1430 for your chance to win tickets to Holiday World. Once again, the phone number is 317-228-1430. Call in now for your chance to win tickets to Holiday World. Once again, those happy Halloween weekends are going on right now, and they are an absolute blast. 317-228-1430 for your chance to win tickets to Holiday World. We'll be back in 4 minutes with more on the Colts versus Titans.
Dockage at noon. The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Now, this is Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on X __ Jonathan Smith. Follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen to the show on the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. If you have the app, you can also listen to the Dan Dockett Show right there from noon to 3. I don't know why I blinked on that there for a second. It's at the same time every single day. Coming up here in about 20 minutes or so, Zack Gray, professional sports gambler. He's going to join the show. He's going to tell you how to bet games this weekend. He does a really good job. If he didn't do a good job, we wouldn't have him on the show. So he's joining here in about 20 minutes. I like the Colts minus 4.5 on the road against the Titans on Sunday. They're just they're just the better football team. Like, that's really all that there is to it. Okay. Like, they're clearly better. Their players are better. The quarterback is better. Haven't said that about the Colts in what feels like forever. Right. But they're just simply the better football team. And I want to bet on the better football team, especially when they're favored by less than a touchdown. Okay. So, you know, everyone does keys to victory like every week. Like they may not call them that, but that's, you know, kind of what this was part of what this job is. And I feel like the keys to victory for the Colts, they're like house keys. Like they don't really change. The recipe for them to win is going to be the same every single week. Okay? Like, just like how yesterday I went home and I put my house key in the keyhole and it worked. And it's going to work today, and it's going to work tomorrow, and I'm not going to change the locks. And so that same key is going to continue to work. And it's the same thing for the Colts. They have to run the football. They have to run the football well. If Jonathan Taylor runs for 150 yards like he did against the Broncos last week, if he does that this week against the Titans, then the Colts are probably going to win. Okay, like, he has to continue to be heavily involved in the Colts offense. I thought that they did a great job last week giving him the football. He had like 27 touches between carries and receptions. Okay, and, you know, he was great for it, right? You know, he has obviously the big, 68-yard run, right after the Cam Bynum interception. He had the play where he catches the swing pass, and then you look up and it's like, oh, he turned that into a 43-yard gain or whatever it ended up being. And like, that just makes life so much easier on your quarterback. Okay. Jonathan Taylor is the guy who just makes life easy for everybody else. I compared him to a riding lawnmower like 2 weeks ago. Okay. Because growing up, we always had a push mower, and my dad will say that he had boys. That way he didn't have to do yard work. That's a very true thing. He sat inside, me, my older brother, my younger brother. We'd go out and mow and weed eat and rake leaves and trim trees and bushes and all of that kind of stuff. But here's the thing. Kids eventually move out, and that happened. And I went back, after everyone had moved out, and I noticed my dad had a nice riding lawnmower just sitting in the garage. It's like, hey, Dad, why didn't you purchase one of those when, I was mowing your lawn? He's like, because you were mowing the lawn. I'm going to make things as easy as possible for myself, right? So Jonathan Taylor is a riding lawnmower. He just makes everything easier, right? Like, the offense for the Colts would still be good even if they didn't have Jonathan Taylor. But like a riding lawnmower, it's just a little bit easier with him around as opposed to like a push mower. And hopefully Jonathan Taylor plays all year and we don't have to experience the push mower that is DJ Giddens and Tyler Goodson. But, we probably will at some point because it's just tough for running backs to stay healthy in the NFL. But the ability to run the football makes it easier on Daniel Jones and every other part of the offense, right? It is why the Colts offense has looked easy, right? When you're able to run play action and the opposition has to actually respect it. Okay, it just makes the offense easier. And that is what Jonathan Taylor has done. 28 touches again. Sounds like a great number for him, whether that's out in the flat, catching the football or, turning around and handing it off to him. I like it when he catches the ball in the flat because sometimes it's nice to just have one guy to beat. Because, like when you turn around and you hand it off, then, the 5 linemen all have to make the right block and Jonathan Taylor has to make the right read. Which obviously the Colts offensive line has played very well this year, and Jonathan Taylor wouldn't be Jonathan Taylor if he didn't know how to read blocks. But sometimes it's nice to catch the football, beat one guy, and then pick up 9 yards. That's a really nice thing to have. So hopefully he can continue to get touches because he just makes the Colts offense easier. They have to win the turnover battle. Okay? Like the reason why the Colts blew out the Dolphins is because they won the turnover battle, right? Dolphins turned it over 3 times in the first half. Colts score off of all 3 of those turnovers. Dolphins look up. They're down 17-0. They completely abandon the run, and they're throwing the football, which plays perfectly into the hands of the Colts defense because the strength of the Colts is the secondary. It is the back half of that defense, okay? So they have to win the turnover battle. It's why they beat the Broncos. Broncos are moving the football. They're going to kick a field goal, right, to go up by a touchdown at a minimum. Kind of felt like they were going to score a touchdown there. So they're moving it down the field. Colts show pressure. They pull out of it. Bo Nix makes an errant throw, leaves it high. Cam Bynum, right place, right time, picks it off. Right, and then the Colts, the next thing you know, they're able to win the football game. They have to win the turnover battle. Okay, they are better than the Titans. The easiest way for them to lose the game on Sunday is to turn the football over. It is the great equalizer. Okay, also, the defense has to stop the run. If the Colts lose on Sunday, it is not going to be because the Titans just played better than them. If the Titans lose the game on Sunday, it's going to be because the Colts shot themselves in the foot twice. Like they're going to have to shoot themselves in each foot. Because once again, Titans, not very good, especially on offense. Okay, the easiest way for them to lose this game is to turn the football over. Okay, Daniel Jones is going to turn the football over at some point, and that's just how it is. Because every starting quarterback in the NFL throws a pick at some point during the season. Okay, doesn't need to happen this week. Because that's the only way that this Titans team can hang with the Colts, is if they turn the football over. Jonathan Taylor, very good with the ball security side of playing running back, unless he's about to run into the end zone. Sometimes he'll drop it a little early, but I think that problem has been fixed. Okay, so with the Colts, don't turn the ball over. Stop the run, which has been an issue for the Colts. Make Cam Ward throw the football 40 times and see if he can complete 60% of his passes, something that he's yet to do, to be fair, only through 2 games in the NFL. Titans receivers aren't very good, and this is a good Colts secondary, especially since it looks like Charvarius Ward is going to play this week. Okay, if Tony Pollard has success on the ground, and that's a very possible thing. He ran for 1,300 yards last year. That's only 100 yards less than Jonathan Taylor. If Tony Pollard gets rolling, then that makes everything easier for Cam Ward. Okay, a good run game is a quarterback's best friend, especially a young quarterback, right? Part of why Daniel Jones has been so good is because of the Colts' ability to run the football, and it is something that could also help Cam Ward. Okay, you have to stop the run, make Cam Ward beat you. Turnovers, bad defense, and big plays. That is how the Colts could lose this game. Okay, don't turn the ball over. Make Cam Ward be consistent and make him beat you. Do you remember the Colts last year when they had Anthony Richardson playing quarterback? How did the Colts generate points? Big plays. The only time that the Colts scored touchdowns last year was when Anthony Richardson hit someone deep down the field for like a 30-yard gain. Okay, if you made the Colts dink and dunk and run like a slow, methodical offense last year, then they didn't score. And it's the exact same thing with the Titans this year. Okay, make them go on 15-play drives because Cam Ward is a young dude who hasn't proven yet that he can consistently make the right plays down on a down-to-down basis in the NFL. Okay, make him prove that on Sunday. I don't think that he can do it. Okay, if he does, then you tip your cap and you say, hey, man, congratulations. And then you move on. Okay, so very excited for the game on Sunday. Make Cam Ward beat you. Do not turn the football over. Give Jonathan Taylor the football, and the Colts probably cruise to victory. Zack Gray joining the show here in about 10 minutes. I'm sure he'll have thoughts on the Colts game as well. Biggest thing, though, biggest reason to bet the Colts is the injuries. Joe Bacci, Colts linebacker, he didn't practice yesterday. Not a big deal because all of the Colts linebackers are bad. Okay, just no way around it. Whether it's Bacci or McGrone or whoever else they want to run out there, it's not really a big drop off because it's just not a very good position group for the Colts anyway. Josh Downs, full participant yesterday at practice after not practicing on Wednesday. Tyler Warren, he returned to practice as well after not practicing Wednesday, but he was only a limited participant. I still expect for both of them to play. Javarius Ward and Leatu Latu both look like they're going to play Sunday. Ward, he's been a full participant all week as he works his way out of concussion protocol. And Leatu Latu was a full participant yesterday. He's got a hamstring, though. Hamstrings are weird. You know, they can kind of flare up. So, but with that being said, you know, I don't think that they would have had him be a full participant yesterday if they didn't feel really good about him, you know, and that hamstring. So, looks like the Colts are going to be pretty healthy on Sunday, while the Titans look like they're going to be pretty banged up. Okay, the healthiest team in the NFL wins. The Colts should be healthier. They're also the better team when both teams are healthy. So really hard not to like them. Titans starting right tackle J.C. Latham. He hasn't practiced all week. He's got a hip. L'Jarius Sneed, their best corner, hasn't practiced all week either. He's got a back injury. And Bryce Oliver, one of the Titans receivers, he hasn't practiced all week either. So Colts are the better team. They have more talent. They have the better quarterback. They have the better head coach. I say that with full confidence. You know, Shane Steichen actually knows the rules. That's kind of important. So they're the better team. They look like they're going to be the healthier team. That can obviously change over the course of the game. Colts should win and cover the 4.5 points that they are favored by. I will get Zack Gray's opinion on that bet in about 4 minutes when he joins the show. Professional sports gambler Zack Gray joins in 4 minutes.
may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt. Uh-oh.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, X, the Indy Sports Ticket app, 1430 AM. No matter how you're tuning in, it is greatly, greatly appreciated. And it is time for the most anticipated segment on this show every single Friday. Professional sports gambler Zack Gray joins the program, and I'm very excited to have him on because my college football gambling this year has been nothing short of abysmal. The NFL stuff is going well. The college football stuff is not, though. Zack, what's going on, man? How are you?
Jay Smith, we're right in the middle of football season. Just love it so much, man. I can't get enough.
Dude, I can't either, man. Like, the game last night was surprisingly good. Even if it'd been a blowout, I'd have stayed up for the whole thing. We have games tonight as well. Like you said, I can't get enough of it. And what's made it really nice, Sundays especially, is like the bets have hit for me so far. Like the NFL stuff, I'm at like 60% on the year, which is pretty solid. College football stuff, though, not going to divulge that because it's ugly, man.
Yeah, I feel like I've had some early success here, and I will take part responsibility in your Bills bet not hitting last night. That's on me.
Dude, the issue's me. Like, we had someone, Tyler Fox, who listens to my show and Dan's show. He made a comment about it, and it's firmly on me. I was like, that's a dumb bet. And as soon as you say that, you just know that you're going to lose because that's just kind of how it always seems to work, you know?
Yeah, what's our current ranking right now? What are you have our records on?
Sharp versus Square. You are 1-1 in college football. I am 0-2, and both of our NFL bets hit last week, putting us both at 1-0.
Let's go. I love this little segment we're doing.
It's good. It's fun. Since your college football bets are so much better than mine, I'm going to allow you to go first.
Okay, so I was originally prepared to come in and give you Cal -12. But since then, the line has jumped up to -13.5. So we're not going to give that one out. But I do have another in the tuck. You know I always do.
Yes.
Jay Smith, I don't know if this is an ego play. I don't know what it is. But give me Memphis +7.5.
Gosh dang it, man. All right.
I'm sorry. The projections love it. I love the way that Memphis is playing this year. I had them last week against Troy. They easily covered. The data likes them. My eyes like them. And I think Arkansas, after a tough loss against Ole Miss, is due for a little bit of a letdown and one of those classic hog spots.
Yep, that's probably what's going to happen. Doesn't help that the Arkansas defense is going to be amongst the worst in the Power 4 this year. It's just, yeah, Arkansas is not good. I had a feeling that you were going to go this way this week, and I don't blame you for it at all. Once again, joined by Zack Gray, professional sports gambler, doing our Sharp versus Square segment. He's the Sharp. I am the Square. Are you ready for mine? I love mine, which probably means it's going to be wrong.
Let's get it.
I'm going to take Nebraska +2.5, home underdog, getting points. Sharon Moore not coaching this week. Freshman quarterback on the road. Matt Rule in year 3, which people have probably made too big of a deal of that. But I do really like this Nebraska team. I think that the receivers are underrated. The defense, I like it. Dylan Raiola gets made fun of, as he should. But he's still, I think, a pretty solid college quarterback. I like Nebraska +2.5.
So you'll be happy to know, Jay Smith, that my model agrees.
Yes.
This is basically a dead even game on my projections. I have Michigan winning 23-22, but the lean is there. And we saw last night with the projection in the Bills Dolphins game, my projections are right on the money most of the time.
They are.
So I could see Nebraska pulling this game out, honestly. If I had to make a bet on it and I didn't have my projections, I would lean Nebraska. So I really like the play.
Thank you. That, dude, whenever you affirm my picks with your model, it just makes me feel so much better. What is your NFL bet for this week?
I'm not going to overthink this, Jay Smith. I put this out on X, and I'm going to roll with it here. I have Green Bay -7.5 against the Browns. I think Green Bay is the best team in football. If that's bullish or that's too soon, sue me. But I think they are. I think they're the most complete team. I think Micah Parsons added an element that we all knew he was good, but I think him being added to that Jeff Hafley defense is something special. I think Jordan Love is turning the corner. Josh, they have just so many guys. And I'm not going to overthink this. The Browns are terrible. The Packers are good. I think they win by 10+.
Joined by Zack Gray, professional sports gambler, doing our sharp versus square bets for the week. He's the sharp. I'm the square. He says to take Memphis +7.5 tomorrow and the Packers -7.5 on Sunday. Zack, I'm really torn. There's two bets that I really like. I'm gonna go with my first one. I'm gonna take the Cardinals +2.5 on the road against the Niners. I'm just a big believer in the healthier team wins, especially in the NFL. The 49ers, older team, already kind of limping around a little bit. The Cardinals are incredibly healthy. And when I look up and down the Cardinals roster, I just constantly find myself saying, that guy's a good player. Oh, there's another really good player. I really like their roster. I think it's one of the more underrated ones in the league. So I'm going to take the Cardinals +2.5 on the road.
My model loves that. I actually have a slight Cardinals lean on this game to win. So that's two bets, Jay Smith, where you've been sharp.
Love that.
I will say, are the Cardinals right now a little bit of fool's gold? They haven't played any. They've played two not very good teams, and they haven't looked great for long stretches. I like the play, but just overall season outlook more, away from the betting side. They might be a little fool's gold.
They might be. Without giving out too much, there's someone in that organization that really, really likes their team. And there are some people who always like their team. He's not like that. So I don't think they're fool's gold. As long as Kyler stays healthy, I think they'll be really good this year.
Yeah. And Jay Smith, while we're talking about bets, I'll throw in an extra college bet for your Indiana listeners. I think Notre Dame is going to railroad Purdue tomorrow. I think all of their frustration is going to come out on the Boilermakers. Purdue's improved. Sure, they're not the 1-11 team that we saw last year, but I think Notre Dame comes out and throttles them. And I wanted to give your listeners that one as well before we moved on. So sorry about that.
No. Oh, dude, you can give out as many bets as you want, man. As many as you want. So we're taking Memphis +7.5, Packers -7.5, and then we're taking Notre Dame to blow out Purdue. All of that coming from Zack Gray. Follow him on X @ZG the Grapevine. He unveiled a new logo. Looks great. If you click the link in Zach's bio over on X, it'll take you to his Patreon where he sells tools to help you make better bets. And Zach is also a great follow just because he loves football. There are some people who bet and then they don't watch the games. That is not Zach. And the college football slate tomorrow is awesome. We have to start though with IU and Illinois. I think this is a big game for Coach Cignetti, not in terms of Indiana fans turning on him, but I do think people are waiting to be see, Coach Cignetti can't beat good teams, and because he hasn't done that yet. His best wins over 6-6 Michigan last year. How big of a game is this for Indiana, kind of from that perspective?
It's a huge game because, there is a crowd outside of Bloomington that thinks that Indiana and Cignetti are a little bit of a paper tiger, kind of like what you're referring to. And I think winning this game is kind of showing that Indiana has actually turned the corner, and they're not just going to beat up on the Charlottes of the world. They have a chance to actually compete atop the Big Ten, in years to come. So they're not there yet, but a win over Illinois would definitely prove a lot of people wrong. But I do have a little bit on this game, Jonathan. I want to pick your brain on it because all of the data says Indiana, the line should be somewhere around that 5-6 mark. That's what my model says. That's what the Vegas line is. But why do I feel like this, just anecdotally, why do I feel like Illinois should be the team favored by, 5 or 6? They're more experienced. They have, a deeper roster, I would say. I think the coaching matchup is almost even. But I just feel like Illinois is kind of the better team when you look at it on paper. Am I off here?
No, that's exactly how I feel. I can't believe that the line is 6. I was going to ask you about that. Just because Luke Altmaier I don't think he's a great college quarterback, but he's a really good one. Brett Bielema teams are going to run the football. I like their defense. The Duke win doesn't look as good as I thought that it was going to be. But still being able to go in there and dominate, especially in the second half, I think part of why we feel this way is because we've seen Indiana play Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State, whereas we've seen Illinois play teams with a little more substance. And just knowing that it's a lot of the same guys from last year, what seems to be a really big theme over the last couple of years in the world of college football. So I think it's a combination of those two things why we feel that way.
Shout out to Big Ten. This is a good matchup, and it's good to have these teams like Indiana and Illinois be on the national stage and raise up the middle of the Big Ten. This is exactly what people wanted in the Big Ten when, they started to expand all the way back when Maryland and Rutgers were added. The whole goal of all of this, paying the, assistants, getting up to speed with the SEC on that regard, just a lot of infrastructure stuff within the Big Ten to get to this moment. And it's just good to see Indiana and Illinois be on the national stage like this. The plan has worked perfectly within the Big Ten offices.
It has, and it is, oh man, I might be a bit of a homer here.
Admit it.
I think this is the college football game of the weekend. Even though if you wanted to tell me it was Texas Tech and Utah, I think I would accept that.
I think it's the biggest game of the week. Auburn, Oklahoma, just because of the storyline with Jackson Arnold, maybe. Michigan. I like these type of weekends because it's not like we're getting Clash of the Titans here. We're getting a lot of teams that are ranked, that have high goals that we're not used to seeing. And there's a lot of good storylines that go along with it. This is a great storyline weekend.
It's 3 games. Once again, joined by Zack Gray, professional sports gambler. Follow him on X at ZG The Grapevine. If you click the link in his bio, it'll take you to his Patreon where he sells tools to help you make better bets. It's 3 games with 6 teams that want to / expect to make the playoff this year. This is the benefit of expanding the playoff.
And I believe I told you this when they first started talking about expanding the playoffs, that more games like this would matter. I want my credit.
Yeah, I gave it to you. That's why I brought it up. That's why I brought it up. And it's true. But
even Florida, Miami, even though Florida's toast, even the storyline there with Napier and Lagway is at least interesting enough to make the game worth watching.
Yeah, until you watch Lagway throw 4 picks. And then you're just I think I'm done. The quarterback thing this year has been kind of weird. It feels like all the guys that people were excited about haven't been as good. And so, which I think makes the sport, I think, more enjoyable. What do you kind of think of just kind of the lackluster quarterback play we've seen from the guys that people were really excited about?
Who are you referring to?
Lagway, Arch Manning. CJ Carr's been much better than I thought he'd be at Notre Dame, so I wouldn't include him. But Nussmeier hasn't been great. Cade Klubnik at Clemson hasn't been very good. Those kind of guys.
I think now that you say that, I think if you went to our preview show that we did, I think we did 1 or 2 college football previews right before the season. I think we both were talking about how we expect the new guys to just not really miss a beat and not to be too much of a drop off. And I think we said that people were overrating the experience and the high level quarterbacks coming back and that the young guys would be fine. And I think we've through 2-3 weeks, I think we've hit the nail on the head. Like, it's real, like, you're developing under good coaches. Those young quarterbacks are going to be fine. And, we've kind of seen what these other guys are at this point. So, shout out to us for, being right yet again, Jay Smith.
I will say the one guy I was wrong on, Cade Klubnik, man. I was so excited for Clemson, and then they had to go and start 1-2 and just look terrible the whole way through. Last thing for you. Can Notre Dame still make the playoff after starting 0-2 and not having another ranked team on their schedule? Or I guess they have USC, but that's really it.
They can, but I don't think they're in control of their own destiny. Things have to shake right for them. I think it's definitely possible. I would say it's probably more likely than not that they make the playoffs if they go 10-2. But they've definitely got to win out, and they don't have any say to lobby once the committee starts getting together.
Yeah, they're going to need a little bit of help, and that's fine with me. I hope they miss the playoff. I do too. Okay, so in 2 weeks, because I have to know. I feel like two of your three least favorite teams in college football are going to play each other in 2 weeks, Arkansas and Notre Dame. Who will you be rooting for?
I will be rooting for no one. I will be. It's the ultimate hate watch experience. I think just generally, I think I would just hope for chalk and that Notre Dame wins. I don't know if I could handle an Arkansas win in that scenario. Yeah, I don't think I could take it.
But it's not like 4th ranked Notre Dame going down. It's Arkansas beating like 23rd ranked Notre Dame or something like that. But no, you're right.
Well, Arkansas is about to lose to Memphis. So.
It's true. That's true. That'll also bring a major damper down. Zach, I have to run. I'm over on time. Thank you for your time. One more time for the people. What are the 3 bets that you gave out this weekend?
Yeah, we got Memphis plus 7.5, Notre Dame minus 24.5, and then the NFL, give me the Packers minus 7.5.
Love it. Zach, thanks for your time, man.
See you, Jay Smith.
See you. That is Zack Gray. Follow him on X at ZG The Grapevine. Check out his Patreon, which is linked in his X bio. Once again, at ZG The Grapevine. If you check out that link, it'll take you to his website where he sells tools to help you make better bets. That's going to do it here on The Real Jonathan Smith Show. I'll be back again Monday, hopefully celebrating a Colts and IU win at 10 a.m. I'll talk to you Monday, 10 a.m. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way in 4 minutes.